Kids should get messy, and not just kids that have long attention spans that can sit for more than 3 minutes, and not just the kids that have the fine motor skills they need in order to zip up their coat and tie their shoes, but all kids. All kids should have the opportunity to get messy. About 8 years ago, I was a student teacher in a kindergarten classroom that served children with special needs alongside their typically developing peers. At that time, none of the teachers really got very excited about teaching science. It was just kind of another thing on the list each week. The amount of prep it involved, the mess, this idea that you had to know science well in order to teach it to early learners, all kind of dissuaded people from being very excited about it. Years before that, though, I was the weird kid in the second grade that brought science experiments to school instead of, toys and such for show and tell. Messy science experiments that I'm sure my teachers really loved to have invited into the classroom. So, going back to kindergarten classroom, we were sitting around and we were talking about who was going to teach science, and I waited just for a moment before I volunteered and tried to kind of keep my excitement at bay a little bit. Since then, I have had so many failures teaching science to young learners. Moments when things went terribly, like raw eggs flying across the classroom bad, cornstarch clogging up sinks bad, children going home with hands dyed with beet juice bad. But what I've learned in that time is that it's when things went the worst that my science teaching actually became the most genuine. I found myself questioning things alongside with the kids, organically wondering what went wrong and how we can do better next time. And while personal development is great and everything, something even more amazing happened. I heard the kids wondering and experimenting between themselves. These were kids that were receiving speech and language services, that were on behavior plans for emotional and behavioral issues, that had autism, that were working with occupational therapists in order to figure out how to jump with 2 feet at the same time. But when you walked into that kindergarten classroom, you wouldn't have known any of that when you saw all of those kids elbow deep in slime.